Greetings, fellow investigators, and welcome back to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where my friends and I play the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. I'm your host, Tom Rayleigh. Our campaign is entitled The Time to Harvest. It was written by Brian Simmons, Charles P. Zaglanis, Glenn Owen Barras, and Mike Mason, and it's available on the Chaosium website. Jeff Wilkins is our game master, and this is Chapter 1, Episode 9. So, without any further delays, let's continue our journey into the darkness. Jeff?
Thank you, Tom. So, let me do a little recap here. Last episode was quite a lot going on. There was quite a bit of action, quite a bit of strange goings-ons. You all managed to save or rescue the young girl who was basically held hostage by, for lack of a better word, some sort of demon-like creature. And then on your way back to the house, you ran into another strange creature, which you managed to eliminate successfully. There was much sanity loss. There were, I believe, at least two of you who ended up just running frantically into the woods. There was a great scene with Jasper getting the message to basically put his friend John Jeffries out of his misery. And then the group of you, with Tug carrying the girl in his arms, are now approaching the house. And I want to try to kind of rewind just a little bit and just revisit. I had you guys talk about at the end of the last episode, but I'd like to just revisit that real quick, mostly to refresh my memory and also because you've had a week now to think about it, so I want to make sure if everybody's still on the same page. So basically, I want to make sure that you guys as a group are now approaching the house. You're getting to the point where you can see that there's people still outside. Remember earlier this morning, that's when the discovery of the bones was found in the flower bed. Everyone else knows about it, and they all kind of flooded outside, and we're looking into it. And that's when you guys as a group headed off into the woods off on your own. I'm going to say it's roughly about 11:30. But there's still commotion. There's still movement. You can see three people for sure. You can see the sheriff. You can see the deputy. You can see the doctor. Everyone's sort of milling about. The students are sort of, grouped two or three, chit-chatting. So I wanted to give you the opportunity to, before you sort of break out of the woods here and make yourself known, just kind of talk and see if you're on the same page as far as, what you're carrying this missing girl. What's your story going to be? Are you guys together on this, or are you not together?
So I think we should do what we said before, and just say that we found her, and leave out all the crazy stuff.
Agreed.
Where are we going to say we found her again?
We'll tell them where she was, and they can go and see. That was all really there, but I just think that the more fanciful elements of the story might best be left out where the police are concerned.
Are we going to tell them she was hanging from the ceiling?
Can we just tell them?
Just tell her that we found her in a cabinet.
Yeah, we found her there. She was tied up. That would do, wouldn't it?
Yep.
That would do.
I mean, we don't have to say anything about anything else. And Tom, you're muted.
Yeah.
Not only that, but we shouldn't say anything about anything else.
But what else are they going to add? They're going to ask us how we found her. We say we're walking in the woods and we heard a noise.
Yeah, we just heard a noise, and and we're all town boys. We don't know the difference between one noise and another out in the woods, so we just followed it because we didn't know whether it was an animal or whatever.
I think I already
there she
admitted
was.
not to being a town boy. We might as well say we heard what sounded like a girl scream, maybe call out.
I think we did hear her screaming anyway, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
we did.
That's true.
And we just grabbed her and we brought her. We brought her out.
Yeah, I mean, I think from an ethical perspective, I don't see anything wrong in deciding to simply leave out bits of the story that to be honest, they aren't going to believe anyway.
Right.
That's just going to muddy the waters. We don't need to mention that because all they need to know that look, we found this little girl. We're going to be heroes.
Jasper.
They're not going to be concerned about like
Jasper,
whether we're telling the whole story. All they're concerned about is whether we found the kid or not.
What are you going to tell them when they start fishing to find out whether we saw anything strange? Maybe they already know what's going on here.
Just say nothing.
We're not saying anything. That's the main thing. We're not going to say anything.
Good. The main thing is nothing.
Listen, guys, we can't say anything because if we start adding details, the other ones won't. They're going to probably do like they do and separate us all and ask us all individually. And
we spent the day in the woods, and we just chanced upon her. We heard a noise, and we chanced upon her.
Because we didn't want them to think that we did this.
Yeah.
Right.
Did we see anything else out there? Any animals?
No, I didn't see anything.
Nope. Well, I wasn't taking any notice of things like that. We were out there looking for the kid.
Come on, we got to go. She needs to go to the hospital.
Right. Let's go.
Let's go. So as soon as we clear the trees, I'm like, we found her. We found Emily. I yell for everybody.
Yeah, which of course gets everybody's attention. They look.
And I say to everybody quietly, I say, watch the sheriff. Make sure that he's not like suspicious. Because if everybody's like really, really like, oh my God, they found her. And a couple of people are like, shit, they found her. Then
I'll keep an eye out.
Yeah.
I just before anyone gets over here, I'm just going to look. I think we should offer to take them to where we found her before they even ask where we found her. That way it preempts the whole thing. It makes it look as though we're not hiding anything. We're being open with the information.
All right. So we found her. We found Emily.
And at this point, the deputy and a couple of the students are rushing over to your side. The doctor's a little bit on the heavier side, so he's making his way over to you also, just at a little bit slower pace.
Well,
And
we're going towards them too, so yeah.
Right. I'm saying, as you're coming in, they're coming to meet you. And the sheriff's kind of standing, just taking it all in. He's not really rushing to you. He's just like, what's happening?
Is the old drunk guy still around?
He's by the sheriff.
How's he looking?
He hasn't been arrested?
He has not been arrested. You don't see him in handcuffs or anything, but he's within 20 feet of the sheriff.
So, is his expression one of surprise, astonishment? Does he have an expression?
Not really. His expression is more of a dazed or frazzled, and on top of that, reminding you that he was pretty drunk last night. So he's
fair enough.
Also hungover and unkempt. And
yeah, taking a quick glance, like we discussed, is there anybody whose reaction looks abnormal?
I guess only in the sense that, like, this is abnormal. You just all kind of came bursting out of the woods and said, hey, we found the missing girl.
The main point is there anybody who doesn't look surprised?
Yeah, right. Okay, gotcha. No, not really. Yeah,
okay.
Nothing like that. So at this point, the doctor catches up to the group, and he's looking at you, Tug, and looking at.
I think she's been abused. She was tied up.
Tied up.
And there's probably ligature marks around her wrists and
Yeah, I would imagine.
ropes and stuff.
And the deputy's now. You've got his interest. And he's like, "What happened? How did you find her?"
We heard it sounded like a young girl calling out in the woods. We can show you the place if you want.
The doctor's
some kind of cabin.
Yeah, we were out there all day. We just kind of, I guess we just sort of stumbled into it, really. So none of us knows how to track anyone properly or something. We were just, out there just seeing if we could see anything.
just went for a stroll in the woods.
Well, no, we were going. We knew everyone was out looking for the little girl.
We'd said
and we thought, and we kind of got it into our heads that we should go out and look for her. But I mean, we didn't think we'd find her. It's all a bit overwhelming, to be honest.
I'm going to say at this point, you guys have made it back to the backyard of the house now. The doctor sort of corralled you, Tug, to put her down on the back of the truck. And so he's kind of got her laid out, and he's looking over her. He's got his little medical bag out.
I've kind of got my hands under her head so she's not laying on the truck.
And the sheriff is now basically standing next to the deputy, so he's listening into what's happening too.
Jeff, I don't suppose Mrs. Bellwether is among the people who are here, is she?
I'm sorry, say that again? Who?
The Mrs. Bellwether, the woman they call a witch. Is she's not with the group, is she?
Correct. She is not there.
Just checking.
This is just our people and the people that came, the police and stuff, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So, is there people other than the sheriff and the doctor and official people? Are there random townspeople, or is it only the sheriff and the doctor and?
It's just our people. Yeah.
Okay.
Townspeople wouldn't know.
Well, it was worth making sure.
I will say Joe was there too. He showed up early,
right?
Like he normally does, so he's just there, sort of standing by.
I'm like, when we heard her call, we went looking and we found her and we came running right back as quick as I can. I'm exhausted.
Oh.
Probably drenched in sweat too at this point.
So at this point, Charlie, can you do a? You know what? You said it earlier. I'm not going to make you roll. I'm going to say you notice that the sheriff and the deputy are kind of talking low to each other, mumbling. Mm-hmm. And they start kind of nodding in agreement. And the deputy speaks up. And he's like, listen, guys, can I get you all to separate? And he just says, Charlie, you stand over here. Jasper, you stand over here. Danny, Jerry, Tug.
Why?
We're just going to ask you a couple questions. That's all.
Okay. Well, I'll stand where I'm told to stand.
Right.
And
is it okay if I chew gum while I'm waiting?
The sheriff doesn't acknowledge that question, and he walks over to you, Jasper, and he gives you a good stare down. He's trying to be intimidating. I think it's working.
I'm going to look back at him with a look that I think says, "What are you picking on me for? What? Because I'm the little one."
So here's what I'm going to have you guys do. I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to say, based on the way you guys are organized on my screen, Tug and Danny are talking to the deputy. Jasper, Charlie, and Jerry are going to be interviewed by the sheriffs. Could be. And first, let me just ask you right off the bat: does anybody, you're separated, but I just want to. I mean, if we need to remove headphones, we can, but I don't think we need to. Is anybody going to change your story now that you're individually alone with, and now that you know that your friends are not listening in on what you're saying? I'm going to just ask: is anybody changing their story?
No, I'm not going to change the story, but I'm very, very frightened that the sheriff might ask me any questions about John Jeffrey. I don't know why he would do that, but that's just the kind of frame of mind I'm in at the moment. I'm just a bit worried.
Okay. Could I ask all of you to do a PAL roll, but don't tell me what you get. Send me a private message with your result.
Okay.
And I don't have your stats, so maybe just give me a pass or fail. Or
Is it only pass fail, or do you care about hard and extreme successes?
well, just give me like the number and then whether or not that's a pass or fail.
Okay.
And I'll figure out the extremes.
Okay.
Tug, got you.
Oh, what's going on?
This is the tense moment where we're all sort of standing up, waiting for your turn.
This is the ridiculous moment when I realised that I've been trying to type it out to you and I've just not pressed number lock. So the keypad isn't working. All right, there we go.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I'll probably cut a big chunk of this spot out so that it just rolls smoothly.
So at this point, we've got time now for a little message from our sponsors. It gets very late here when I'm trying to game, and in order to keep myself going, I like to drink a refreshing can of Blue Rat, the fantastic Polish energy drink with all the energy of a rat trapped in a can. It's full of Polish chemicals, and it's just great. Blue Rat.
You'll have a tale to tell.
I get 7p for every time I do them. Great. Almost as good as YouTube.
Okay, got all your results, and I'm going to move on. The sheriff and the deputy, they interview you, everything works out, and they tell you, okay, that's good. Stick around, just in case we come up with more questions. They're debating now as to whether or not they need to see the cabin, or how, or when, because they're also dealing with this other mess of finding the bones. So now there's like two things they're trying to figure out what to do and deal with. How about, let me ask you this. So now that sort of the intense interview is over, some of the other students now are approaching you and asking, what happened? Where did you, they're full of questions too. Are you guys sticking to the same stories with the students, or was that just to show for the police?
No.
If I'm approached by any students, I'm just gonna be very serious and say, look, what that little girl went through. I don't really feel like I can talk to you about that right now. I'm just very upset by what I've seen.
Because remember too, the students, everyone has seen the moment. So there's a certain amount of shared, trust in that sense. But I don't, you guys do what you want to do.
Well, I mean, at the moment, I think the with Jasper particularly, Rod is a different matter. But I think at this moment, Jasper is desperately trying to process what's just happened with shooting John Jeffrey, and probably still trying to work out in his head if he really did the right thing. And saying that he's upset because they found this girl seems like the most convenient way to play off the fact that he just can't quite bring himself to interact with other people at the moment.
Yeah.
Jerry doesn't say anything different at all.
Okay.
Jerry perhaps might take notice of how upset or unstrung, if at all, Clarissa seems to be.
For Tug, everything is reputation, so he doesn't want to be labeled a crazy person. So he's just like, just mind your own business. You know.
And Danny doesn't want to give a different story, but I think Danny maybe takes Charlie aside at some point and says, do you know, should we not be trying to sort this somehow rather than just hiding it? I don't know what we can do, but should we not be telling somebody, Charlie? You know this is real. So are we just going to pretend it didn't happen?
And Charlie is just going to shrug at you, and she's going to walk in the house, and she's going to go upstairs, and she's going to shut her door. You won't see her for a while. And while I'm up there, I'm like pulling at my hair, and I hop on a bed. I put the pillow to my mouth, scream. You know, I'm just flipping out right now. That insanity loss that or the sanity loss that I had earlier has now fully taken hold.
Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't have talk to Charlie. For Danny, you know, I mean, for him, I think particularly having blasted what we understand were two demons away with his pistol, shooting this big white beast, it's kind of like this whole world view shift in the last couple of hours, you know, and he kind of feels like he should be talking to somebody, but he doesn't know who he should be talking to.
If we're talking about what we also are doing other than what we're telling people, as soon as it occurs to Jerry, which is right about now, whenever now is, Jerry sits down in the kitchen in his, I guess, bedroll area and just starts writing everything down because he's worried he's going to forget the weird stuff. So
let me interrupt you for a second, only because I wanted to mention this and I forgot. Jerry, when the sheriff was interviewing you, he was more intense with you. And
how do I know that? More intense than what? Could I see him talking to the others even though I couldn't hear what he was saying?
You saw him, yes.
Oh, okay.
You saw that he was very, you know, he's trying to play it by the book with the other people. But when he gets to you, excuse me, when he gets to you, he's kind of laying into you a little bit harder. And the main reason is because he's asking you, why do you have a gun? Why do you have a rifle?
Well, originally I thought I might do some hunting after we learned she'd gone missing out in those woods after those animals tried to get at us or, well, got at me. I figured at least somebody better be armed.
And he pauses and he says, what animals? You were attacked?
Yeah, they were like, well, no, none of us were quite sure what they were. We told the doctor about it. He patched me and Tug Thompson up. They were kind of, well, they weren't really like badgers. They were more like, Well, I thought they were like real big moles. That's what Tug thought. We've been asking what kind of things you have around here, but people usually just say bears. Well, and they certainly weren't no bears, not even small bears.
Okay. But you didn't recognize it, is what you're telling me. You didn't recognize the type of animal it was?
No, I sure didn't. I'm actually I've been real curious about it. I've done some hunting and fishing back in Illinois, but I didn't recognize them, and they were pretty fierce. One landed on Tug out of a tree.
Up in the tree, huh? What did they look like?
Well, like I said, they were sort of like big moles, but I know they can't be moles. Moles don't live in trees, I'm sure, in any parts. But, well, they definitely had sort of mole-looking faces, and, they had claws, but maybe teeth. It seemed like one bit me, but I couldn't really see. It all happened kind of fast. I took a shot at one.
More than one, then?
Oh, yeah. They were like... Well, there had to have been at least 3. I don't think there were 10.
Okay.
Well, what are there?
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure based on your description. I mean, the only mole I know is usually about maybe yay big. So if you're saying something like that attacked you, I'm finding that hard to believe.
Well, like I say, it was bigger than any mole. It just had a mole-looking face, but it seemed like they could get up on their hind legs too, a bit. But like I said, they were faster than I'd think any mole would be. Maybe. Well, I don't really know. Do you have I don't know, like any type of monkeys that live out in these woods? Tug said they sort of seemed a bit like monkeys too. I didn't quite see that myself, but they did come from trees. Maybe something more fox-like. I mean, they certainly weren't anything like a raccoon.
The look on his face is hard to describe because it's a combination of he's not sure if you're having a go at him. Some smart punk from the city trying to pull the wool over the local yokel county sheriff, or if you're actually telling the truth and he's really confused by that because like everything you're saying is not making any sense to him.
Well, hasn't anyone else ever seen anything like that out here? I mean, if I saw more than 5, there's got to be more than 5 out there. Do people not spend much time out in the woods here?
No, I mean, this is Vermont. There's no monkeys in Vermont. I mean, unless there was a circus in town, but not that I know of.
Well, I can't say I'm surprised to hear that. But
we have all the basics. We got raccoons, we got opossums. Are you familiar with? I know you're from the city. Are you familiar with those other types of animals and varmints?
Well, I grant you, Cairo is a city. I'm not sure it's really like cities in New York, but it's a city. But I'm not from the city. I grew up in a pretty rural area, and like I said, I've done my share of hunting, coons, rabbits, possums. When I was younger, I even hunted for squirrels every now and again, but I've just never seen anything like them, honest. I figured maybe it was some local thing that didn't get out much past this region. I've only, I've been at the university for, almost 4 years now, and most of my time there is spent studying, so I don't get out in the wilds as much as I'd like.
So I think
I don't know a lot about the local wildlife. You really have no idea what they are.
no, not based off of your description. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, I know I'm likely to be embarrassed later when somebody knows exactly what they are, and my description is nothing like it. But I'm not accustomed to being attacked by things of that size. So, I don't know. So
you can see him. He's writing all this down in his little notepad.
So anyway, I was a little rattled by it, and so was Tug. Anyway, like I said, we got fixed up by the doctor, and I suppose I've been a little shaken ever since, and especially knowing that a young lady with perhaps less wits than some would be out by herself under such conditions. It surely seemed like we should be prepared.
And you guys, that was part of your story, right? You told her that she was tied up with the wrists, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jerry, he's taking your statement down. He's writing it in his little notebook. He eventually lets you join the rest of the group. You go back into the kitchen. You start writing your memories down.
Yep.
Charlie, you ran off up into your room. Jasper, Tug, and Danny, the sheriff and the deputy together approached the three of you and asked if you would be willing to show them where the cabin is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess.
It's up to you. You know, one of you could do it, or all three. It's up to you. Doesn't matter.
Well, I don't think anybody should go out there alone.
Yeah, I was going to say I'd rather we all went up there. The more the better. I mean,
because like we don't have any idea who tied her up. There could be some crazy guy out there. So
yeah, there could be more than one of them, and they might still be up there.
Yeah, safety in numbers. I'm happy to go to.
Okay. So let's just sort of fast forward this. I don't think we need to rehash the whole setting and all. So I'm going to say that, you know, you guys take them to the cabin. They start inspecting it. They look everything over. Honestly, there's not a whole lot to look at. There's pretty much, you know, like you described it to them. The campfire was on the basement floor. The ropes were hanging from the ceiling. I mean, there's no reason to really doubt what your story is at this point.
And can we keep an eye on them to see if they're acting really suspicious? Like
yeah,
I had a feeling that as they were marching us out here, they were taking us out to get rid of us.
I mean, they are acting very suspicious. You know, they're law enforcement, and you guys just sort of showed up out of the blue with this girl. And it's kind of a crazy story that's not really making a lot of sense.
What? You got some
in the cabin.
Living, yeah,
Here it is.
You got some maniac.
Yeah.
Everybody's been telling us all day long that the girl's missing. So.
Yeah, I mean, what are you asking us for? As soon as the girl recovers, you can ask her.
Who owns the cabin?
That's a good question. I don't think I've ever known this cabin existed.
Well, somebody built it.
Is there any evidence of the creatures down in the basement?
No.
Is it all gone?
Yep. So after, you know, due diligence, they inspect the scene. They're kind of look for clues, although, you know, there's no forensics, especially in this small town. But, you know, they take it all in, they make a few notes, and they basically walk back to the house with you guys. I'll say, too, that during this time when they wandered off, the doctor took the girl back to his office.
Right.
So he's giving her proper care.
Did they ask me anything about the moles?
You know, that's a good question, because Jerry sort of included you in that description.
He did.
So the sheriff, it's not necessarily like he's interrogating you.
Right.
Or maybe he is.
We're walking.
Yeah, this is all during, like, casual conversation as you're walking. So are you sort of collaborating Jerry's story, or are you...
I don't know Jerry's story.
Yeah, no.
So if you're asking me, I'm just going to immediately say, there's a bunch of raccoons.
Okay.
I don't know. We got our rabies shots because, raccoons don't usually attack people, but sometimes they do. And I just start rambling. And they bit us. And usually if they bite you, maybe they've got rabies or something. So they were kind of acting crazy. You guys ought to keep your eyes out for them. There's nothing worse than a crazy raccoon.
Yeah. All right. So is there anything you guys want to do first before I move on?
What time is it by now? Because that was early in the morning that we started that whole thing.
Yeah, that all started very early in the morning. This sort of, I'm trying to think, this, you guys did a lot. So I want to say it's kind of like late morning, maybe around noon at this point after he's interviewed you all. It's around noon.
Are we going to do any more folklore? I'm beat after that adventure.
Hey, do any of you fellas want some of this jerky?
I'll have some.
Yeah. Thank you.
But the geology people need to go, don't they?
Didn't we, speaking of folklore, weren't we planning on talking to Mrs. Bellwether a bit more?
I don't know. I'm so tired at this point. I ran through the forest. Now I've gone to that cabin twice and back again, and I was carrying a girl. And if you guys want to go talk to her, you can go talk to her.
When we're heading back from that cabin, Jeff, do we pass the clearing again?
Mm-hmm.
I asked the sheriff or the deputy about it, ask what it is, or do they know anything about this area?
No, you don't really get any reaction at all. They're just like, they're not sure, it's a rock.
I think I will go talk with her.
As we walk past the rock, can I just give it a sort of cursory examination?
Yeah, it looks just like a rock.
He's gone.
Yep.
There's no blood.
And there's no sign on the rock that
there's
maybe
maybe
not like a big red circle where like his neck was or something like that.
I'll say this. We'll say there's stains on the rock that, you knowing what was there, you could interpret that as to bodily fluids, blood, whatever. But like to look at it, it just looks like it's a stain on the rock.
Right.
Yeah, I'm going to move on quite quickly because I don't want to.
Yeah.
Stand around there. I'd rather. I'm certainly not going to stand around anywhere if everyone's moving on in front of me. I don't want to be left alone anywhere in these woods.
Yep.
It's not safe out here at all.
All right. I think here's what I'm going to do.
So when we were talking to Mrs. Bellwether and nobody wanted to go, Jerry still wants to go.
Okay.
Does Blaine give him the keys?
Yeah,
take the car?
Hold that thought, because here's what I would like to do.
Oh, okay.
Charlie, just so like nobody has forgotten you, I'm going to say at some point, Clarissa. Clarissa. She kind of, lightly taps on your door, and just gives you a quick little, are you okay in there?
I don't know if I would be sobbing or crying or anything like that. I imagine I would. I had a trying day, so I will wipe my face and I'm like, oh, just a minute, and I guess I would have a small little mirror to make sure that my eyes aren't that puffy or something like that. And I'll come to the door and Yeah, everything's fine. But
Okay.
and I'll look at her like, what's going on? What is it?
So she would see, I think, that you were crying, maybe? Is that fair to say? Or did you intend to hide it?
Well, like, it's not much you can do that. Like, if you've been crying, your eyes are red, and
Right.
nothing you can really do.
So she's going to start to attempt to sort of console you. She's trying to, are you okay? And what can I do to help? What happened out there? So she's not pushing you for answers like to get you to tell a secret. She's honestly asking you, are you okay? Is there anything I can do? How do you want to respond to that sort of line of questioning?
When all that stuff happened, I rolled the intelligence roll and I failed it. Which means that I'm pretty much thinking that whatever I came across out there must have just been like my imagination or something, right? Is that how it works when we fail a knowledge roll or idea roll?
I think it's actually the other way around. Yeah, you actually, you try to rationalize it. You try to think it's your imagination, but when you fail that intelligence roll, then it's like the full weight of the universe.
No, when you pass it.
Weird. That's
when you pass it. That's when you. Yeah, because I get this mixed up a bit.
Yeah, I hear you.
If I think it's my imagination, I'll just say no. I just it's just been a trying day, and just to see that girl tied up the way she was, I don't know, it just affected me. I just wanted some time to get my mind and thoughts straight. Mm-hmm. That's my answer if I rationalized, mm-hmm. or thought it was my imagination. On the other hand, if I think that everything that I've come across was real, I'm going to start talking. I'm going to pretty much tell her everything that happened, and it's going to sound crazy as hell. But at that point, I will be starting to lose my mind. So however you want it to work. So
let me see if we can remember then. So I'm pretty sure the moment you really lost your sanity there was when you faced off that creature on the path on the return trip.
Yeah.
And I think
because I didn't see anything that happened in the basement.
Right.
I was at the top. I heard a whole lot, but I didn't.
Right.
See.
Yep. You heard the gunshots going on. It was still a scary experience. You just from that sake, and then just from what they all told you what happened, you didn't see it firsthand. But
I believe after seeing all the crazy stuff you've been seeing, I
right.
believe it.
So then I think when you failed your sanity roll, then you did your intelligence, which you then passed, which means you took the full brunt of what you saw.
Right.
And that's when you panicked and fled and ran after Jerry into the woods. So I think that's kind of how we'll play it. That you can't rationalize it. That's the mind shattering in that So like you said, this all is very real to you at this point.
Okay, so then I pretty much spill the beans of what happened out there, and as I'm talking, it's starting to flood out, and stuff that the rest of them told me I would tell her, and she's probably thinking I'm crazy right about now. But at this point, I just don't care.
So here's what I'd like to do. I'm going to say you can do a 1d4 and regain some sanity. Because she's trying to help you, and just you bearing it all out and telling her about it, it's helped you feel a little bit better.
Okay. She still thinks I'm crazy, though, right?
Absolutely. She doesn't know how to react. But she's not, she's trying to be very understanding. She's trying to, but maybe later on when she's alone, might be like, what?
Yeah. Or she could probably think that I had a dramatic time out there and whatever happened, I'm inventing something to ration.
Yeah, but again, too, that she saw the moment too, so she's aware of the fact that there are some weird things happening. So, all right, so she's then going to sort of calm you down, and she'll ask if you have it in you to go downstairs for a little bit. Blaine wanted to talk to everybody.
I'll tell him I'll do that right now.
Okay.
And I'll get myself together.
Yep. Okay.
A bit better.
So, everybody kind of is in the house now. Blaine calls everybody together, and he basically just makes the announcement that things have happened that none of us intended. None of us expected this to happen, and it's been rather intense. I mean, just finding a bunch of bones from a recently deceased woman, or what we think is a recently deceased woman, is traumatic enough. Then this whole ordeal with you guys rescuing this girl from what seems like torture. I think I would like you guys to decide. We can basically wrap this up and call it a day, and then tomorrow morning we can head out and head back to the school. But I will also say that there is an option that if you want, we have the rest of the day. If you guys want to follow up on any other leads, if you want to keep yourselves busy by going out and doing something, we can also do that too. Do you guys have any thoughts on this?
Could I ask a question? Sorry, could I ask a question?
Yeah. Who's talking?
It's me, Jasper.
Oh yeah,
Jasper Price.
Jasper. I didn't see you back there.
Well, that happens to me a lot. Everyone's a bit bigger than me. I was just wondering if there's any news on the little girl, and do we know how she is now?
This is probably maybe only about a half an hour after everybody's left at this point. So okay. There's been no real communication back and forth at all. So he's going to say no.
Okay.
Well, the doctor took her, so she's going to be okay.
Yeah.
I do hope so.
Well, I'd like to go back into town and maybe talk to a few more people before we wrap this all up. Anyone want to come with me?
I think we've got a lot of stories, don't we?
Yeah, I'd quite like to go with you, Jerry. I want to go and see that old lady.
I'll go. It'll get my mind off of.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. The change of scenery might help.
Harry says, "What about us? We haven't done much geology on this geology surveying trip."
Yeah, and Blaine sort of reacts to that, and he's like, "You know what?" He says, "I kind of, maybe this was my own."
Well, we got rained out part, so
yeah. Well, I was kind of.
Lewis says we did plenty of meteorology.
He says I was kind of keeping you guys away intentionally, only because I just didn't want to deal with it. But if the geology group wants, I can show you guys where the supposed the mound is, and that's where Boyd Patterson's body was found. So if you guys want to dig around that site, we can, or we don't have to. It's completely up to you.
Tug's like, "Hey, can I come with the geology group then? I don't really feel like talking about ghosts and shit anymore."
Rod, for his part, is full of jockish glee at the thought of visiting the site of a death. Were it not 40 years too early, or 30 years too early, he'd say, cool. But instead,
Yeah,
he'd probably say something like, hep, daddy-o. Hep.
Peachy.
Bee's knees. All right. Sounds like...
Well, maybe we could just talk to anyone in town before we leave tomorrow. I didn't know there'd be a chance to see this site. I'd quite like to see it myself, says Jerry. Lewis says absolutely nothing and has no intention of going on any more adventures at all. But Jerry would like to see the mound.
And Danny's happy to go to the mound as well, potentially, with the geology thing.
Okay. So it sounds like everybody's in, except I didn't hear from Charlie yet. Are you in, or you?
Well, since I'm used to it, I recovered some sanity, which brought me back to normal. I'm somewhat in my right mind, and I guess doing some sort of geology type of work would get my mind focused, back in focus. So I'll go.
Okay. All right. I posted the link so you guys can check the map. I'm going to start with the geology group first. Let's see, how are we going to do this? So I'm going to say Joe is still here.
I think everybody said they're going for the geology.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
We all want to see the mound.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So nobody's doing the folklore into talking to people in the town?
We'll do that tomorrow.
Okay.
Would we have time to do some of that after the mound, or is it going to be the rest of the afternoon?
You probably need the rest of the afternoon, I think.
Well, I think the idea is that you basically have this afternoon to do what you want, and then tomorrow morning you're going to be leaving.
Right.
Well, maybe we can talk to Mrs. Bellwether in the evening. Either way, we want to see this mound while it's still light.
All right, so let's do this. Is Joe still there? Joe's got the truck. You guys can pile into the truck. Blaine's taking the one car. He's going to drive ahead of Joe to show him where it's at. And then he's coming back to the house afterwards. And the reason is, which I didn't tell you this part yet, but after his little speech and, asking what you guys wanted to do, Blaine's like, we've all been super stressed out. There's been some weird things happening. So tonight, with it being our last night, let's have like a little party here. So he tells you that he managed to get some fresh chickens from the general store. He's going to cook dinner. Clarissa's going to help him cook. We're going to cook a nice dinner. And he managed to find a guitar. And Lewis is going to come back and do some singing. And, just kind of kick back and relax and have some fun tonight.
Okay.
Well, that sounds like a fine idea.
So don't be late for dinner.
All right.
Okay, so you guys get to the site. It's off the beaten trail. You had to take a couple dirt roads to get there.
I suppose I should specify that unless someone stops me, I'm still armed.
Okay.
I probably put the extra box of cartridges in my other pocket.
Okay.
And I certainly did not leave the mysterious jar of goo behind. It's still in my same jacket pocket.
All right. Blaine gets to the road, and he says, now you can't miss it. If you walk maybe about 100 yards straight towards the mountains, I don't think you would miss it at all. Mark your trail as you go so you can get back out to the truck.
So you're not actually going to show us? You're just
No.
giving us a direction.
Yeah, I mean, you just walk that way, you'll walk right into it. And then he gets in the car and leaves.
All right. Why do I feel like we're being abandoned out in the woods? I say
What do
that,
you guys?
my friends. Yeah.
Yeah, what do you guys want to do with
Well,
Joe?
we
He's
survived the woods once, Tug. I think we can handle a second visit. You on tree marking duty again, Jasper?
Let's just go see what we can see.
You guys,
I start heading in the appropriate direction.
Joe kind of looks at you guys like, you know, you guys want me with you? Do you want me to stay here? He's like, whatever you want me to do.
No, I
Wanna
mean,
come
I
along?
thought he was going to go back with Blaine, wasn't he?
He's the truck driver, so he needs to.
Okay, I guess.
Have you ever been to this place, Joe?
Blaine's gone back, yeah?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Blaine has gone back?
Yeah, only Blaine is left. Yeah.
Joe, have you ever been out to this place?
No, I mean, I was on this dirt road once a long time ago, but I don't know where. I mean, I know where we are because Blaine just took us, but I don't know where this mound is.
Well, do you want to come along?
Not particularly.
Well, then I suppose we'll see you back here at the truck.
You know any folks live out here?
Out here, no. There's nothing out here but woods.
All right, let's go.
Yeah, I'm already headed in the appropriate direction.
Okay. Only 10 to 15 minutes walk. Sure enough, just as Blaine said, you can't miss it. You get to a point in the woods, and it's sort of at the base of a rocky sort of cliff, I guess you would say. And it's a mound. It's an obvious, it's a mound of dirt raised up, maybe about 10 feet tall and maybe about 30 feet in diameter.
It's a mound of earth, and
Yep.
then there's a cliff above it.
It's like the cliff and then the mound.
Okay.
Something like that.
So he fell off the cliff and landed on the mound.
Correct.
Jeff, are there archaeology students or geology students with us, or did literally none of the geology students come?
Yeah, I was going to. The way I was thinking is that the geology students would be doing this, and the folklore students would be doing that. So we'll say that that pretty much everybody is here now.
Right, because we're curious to see what happened last year.
Right. I wonder if the mound, if I notice anything particular about the orientation or construction of the mound based on having some interest in the Native American cultures. I would presume Jerry has some familiarity with the whole mound builder thing. Would that be suitable to roll anthropology, or do I have to wait for somebody else to make an archaeology check because it just looks like a pile of dirt?
What are you trying to figure out, basically?
Whether or not it resembles the mounds associated with the mound builder people in those other regions, whether or not it's oriented in any unusual or special way, and perhaps whether or not any part of it looks more important than any other part.
Okay.
Which maybe verges on archaeology, so maybe that's not a legitimate question. But
I think I'll say you don't need to roll because basically it's a mound in the sense, so there's no real orientation. It's a circle.
Okay. Oh, I see. So that answers the question. So it's not oblong. It's circular.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
And then, but it does, we'll say that with your familiarity with the Indian folklore, it does look like what you might expect it to look like.
It looks odd. It looks unnatural.
Yeah, like looking around the area, this is not normal.
And also, if it's possible to do this with a little practice or training, is it possible to voluntarily make a POW check if you think maybe you can pick up on something weird? I mean, of course, Jerry is convinced that there must be something like really uncanny about the place and would be very keen on discerning that more directly. So, is it possible to do it?
I'm going to say no for now.
Okay, then in that case, he thinks it maybe should be anyway, and until somebody notices something of scientific interest, Jerry finds what seems like a good, comfortable spot to just sort of sit and look at it and try to relax and
Now,
into the place.
how do you suppose you get up to the top of the cliff and look down? Is there a way to walk around and come up to the top, or do you have to climb up the rocks?
As you look at it, it's fairly steep, so he probably was climbing.
Yeah,
There's no footpath going up.
Danny climbs up to the top of the mound. Does the mound actually connect with the mountain face, or is it separate?
It's kind of like this. So the cliff comes straight down, and the mound's like there. So if he fell, now you don't know necessarily. I don't think anyone has really given you any details. He could have fallen like over here, not actually on the mound itself.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like don't read too much into that.
Yeah, so if somebody does a bit of climbing, is there any kind of obvious pathways up the face, the mountain face?
Does it look like there's a lot of good handy holds?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you could probably climb for. I'm trying to think how tall this would be. It's quite a cliff face. So,
I think I'm going to go climb up the wall, the cliff face. I'm not going to climb very high, because I don't want to fall and hurt myself, but I want to see how easily it climbs.
Okay. Danny, you were sort of leaning that way too?
Yeah.
Oh,
We'll get some rope out the truck maybe, and I'll come and help. It's a bit safer.
I don't know if we need rope. There's a lot of handy holds.
Yeah, well, it's good to be safe.
So are you roping yourselves together, or?
I'm kind of not waiting.
I'm throwing it over my shoulder. It's in case anyone gets into trouble.
I guess my character's like, I don't get it. What am I going to tie myself to? You? Then if you fall, I fall too. I'm just not going to. I'm not going to take any big chances. If there's a handy hold, I'm going to hold on to it. I'm not going to do any jumping or.
Mm-hmm.
If it gets too steep, I'm going to chicken out.
Danny, can you remind me? Do you have an actual climbing skill, right? That's what your backstory is. That he's
he's a climber.
I have a little bit too.
Okay, but you're more just like athletic. You're not necessarily a climber. Is that fair to say?
No, I'm a rower, so my upper body and arms are really strong.
Okay.
Yeah, this is like Danny's pastime.
So here's what we'll do. First of all, I'll say this. When you're standing there and you're looking up, it's not like there's anything up there. It's not like there's
a
ledge. It's not like there's a goal. You know what I mean? So,
well, there's the top of the cliff, right?
Well, it's a mountain. So, I mean, we're talking, it's like a cliff.
I thought it was a
side of a mountain. You know what I mean? Like,
so it would just keep going up rather steeply up the mountain.
Now, at some point, maybe like 100 feet up, it might level off and then continue going up again.
Right.
But it's not like a clear, what I mean?
I'm going to climb up. I just want to look down from where he might have fallen. So like maybe 50 feet up.
All right. Let's do this. We'll say 10 feet. Give me a climb roll.
16.
I failed by 10.
Dude,
Crit fail or just a regular fail?
Just 80. I've got 70.
Okay.
that's my credit rating. Oh,
So Tug sort of leaps up. Boom, boom, boom.
I did a hard, yeah.
Danny, you kind of struggle and you know, lost your footing a couple times and had to start over. And now you're like, you know.
I kind of maybe skid
That's
down
better.
some loose chips and stuff.
Can I also say, I don't know if this is sinking in yet, but you guys are almost like recreating the same exact scene that one of your fellow students just died.
I didn't know that well.
Okay. 20
Yeah,
feet.
as Danny's kind of sliding about, he's thinking maybe this isn't such a great idea, maybe.
Well, if it really upsets Jasper, then I might stop.
20 feet, I'm going to ask for a climb roll unless you decided to stop calling it.
No, I'm going for 50 ultimately. I got a 9.
Nice.
I always get mixed up on the 9 and the 6. I have to look at the
Well, Danny redeemed himself. He got a 5, so he started showing off now.
All right, so I'll say with the both of you rolling excellent on that, we'll skip the 30-foot roll, and now you're coming up to 40 feet.
Okay, at 40 feet, I'm going to look back and see what everybody looks like.
They look like little ants.
Oh, not from
No, those are ants. Mate.
All right.
People are down there.
Do we see any mole men from here?
No.
Although my sense of humor, I might be up there going, "You all look like little ants way down there." It's like, dude, you're like right there.
From this vantage point, Danny pulls out his binoculars and looks up the way. Is there any kind of point in continuing, or is this just is this an all-day climb?
Yeah. There's no obvious point to continue now. It looks like you could spend...
I kind of relay that to Tug.
Yeah.
I'm
going to look at the rocks, too, and see if I can get a rock sample, whatever kind of rock it is.
Okay.
Probably granite.
Oregon granite.
Do you have the geology skill, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I added it.
Do a geology roll. Let me know what you get.
Can I roll as well?
Sure.
I got 34 out of 40.
Okay, so pass, but not great. How'd you do, Danny?
92. Danny's thinking it looks boring.
Yeah, you got a piece of granite then, Tug.
Yeah. I get it, and I just leave it because it's like, meh.
Come on, Tug, this is boring. Let's go back down.
Yeah, I'll start climbing down.
I will say this, your only reward was that it was a nice view. You got up above the treetops, so.
Yeah. I got some exercise.
Speaking of being bored, however long this takes, apparently Jerry discovers that this kind of thing is like way harder than it seems, just reading all those books, and is probably just too bored to continue just sitting there. So he gets up, wanders around the mound, eventually decides to sit down on the mound and try to be receptive, perhaps with similar results, but in case something happens, I'm telling you what he's doing. At some point, he'll obviously just give up if he discovers he subjectively can't even roll. But
In which case, I'm up there and I'm looking down and I'm like, well, if he fell from here, he would have landed right there. And I point right where Jerry is sitting, just to freak him out.
How about this?
Jerry tries to convince himself that should help. But of course, George does not know whether it helps. But Jerry wishes it helps.
All right, so I come down.
Tug and Danny, I'm going to ask you for one more climb roll just to get down. And Jerry, can you do a power roll?
That time I got a 44.
I passed.
My climb is 35.
Okay. I was basically just looking for a crit fail.
Oh,
So
okay.
to say that it was an inelegant landing.
Yeah. I land on
Right.
my butt.
You were trying to look cool, but,
I succeeded by 4, 71 for 75.
Okay.
I'm bored. Let's go back into.
Well, the Rod comes over to you at this point and says, "What the hell do you think you were doing?"
I was climbing up the rock. Why?
You didn't have anyone down the bottom. You're not meant to go up the rock unless you've got someone belaying at the bottom.
I went up with some Rod because
but you both went up. There was no one at the bottom. You're meant to have someone at the bottom.
What?
That's safety. You shouldn't go up unless you've got someone at the bottom of the rope. You could have asked me. I would have come and done it.
I've got some rope.
I didn't use any rope.
Look, we've had enough trouble on this already. I mean, the last thing we want is someone else dying in the same place, is it? I mean, that's just crazy. You should think of the rest of us. Think of what we'd go through if something happened to you.
Well, you say this all now that we've come back down again. Why didn't you say something when we were going up?
Because I can't fly up there to talk to you.
Okay, Aunt B. Andy Griffith reference. Sorry, that's too.
I'm really regretting putting food in a big bowl. We put food in a big bowl and suddenly
it's everywhere.
Suddenly Lug just thinks, "Oh, you brought some food into the living room for me in a great big bowl. Brilliant." I'll just sit here and stare at you for the next 2 hours.
So Tug is like, this is boring. I thought we were going to see something exciting, and I just assumed go back to town and go into town and do folklore shit.
Is there an entrance
Jeff,
into that?
Did you see my roll?
While these guys were climbing up the side of a rock base or whatever, I was going to sort of scan the base of this.
She was down there to catch us.
No, I was paying attention to you guys.
Oh.
Just to see if there's anything interesting on the ground. Something that might clue us into what happened. I mean, apparently these guys fell off, but see if there's anything that might have been left behind.
You spend a little bit of time. I'm not going to make you roll. You don't see anything. It's just basically, woods, leaves, debris.
Anything interesting?
Not really. I mean, just the mound in and of itself, I guess.
Mound. Is it sort of like a bell mound or something like that, where something might be buried?
That's the folklore rule. I'm pretty sure Agnes Bellwether told you about this mound.
I wasn't with.
Okay. Do you remember that at all, Tug? I don't.
Not really. I was busy drinking lemonade.
George remembers. Are people saying stuff that should provoke that Jerry might?
Oh yeah, they're right next to you having this talk.
Well, I wonder if there's still anything in there.
Is there an entrance? Can we find an entrance?
An entrance? Nope.
No, if you think it's a burial mound, you'd have to dig.
Well, we have we have supplies. Jerry just heads over to the truck and starts looking for the tools.
That's why we're out here.
Is there anything useful in there for some digging?
Oh yeah. You guys lost some equipment when the truck fell into the river, but all your basic stuff is there. There's a pickaxe.
I picked the most basic thing I can because I know very well that I'm not an archaeologist.
Shovel.
Charlie, what do you want?
I bring out my tools.
Okay.
We don't have to go through each and every little thing.
Well, I just pick up a shovel then, and I grab another shovel for somebody else who looks strong. I'd probably just hand it to Rod.
Okay. So we'll say after maybe 10 minutes of digging.
I certainly start digging in the spot I was sitting, though, unless Charlie stops me and tells me to dig somewhere else.
Jerry and who else is folklore?
Well, I'm folklore, but I don't want to dig up a mound.
Do an idea roll.
Who?
Jerry and whoever else wants to do a folklore.
89.
Oh, you do. Okay.
Are Tug and me back down the hill by now?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go.
I'm just standing back looking up at that cliff and the mountain.
It's pretty.
So success by 2 points.
Success? Okay. I just wanted to point out to the fact that if this is an Indian burial ground, which it certainly seems that way, by digging it up, you're desecrating it.
The archaeology is desecrating everything.
It's not desecration, archaeology.
Watch out for monsters.
Yeah, I don't think. I think at this point in the 30s, I don't think that they'd quite got their head around that concept just yet.
Right.
And those that did have their head around it might not actually care. At this point, it was science, nobly discovering the past, rather than people just wantonly desecrating the graves of another culture.
Desecration of the graves, in my opinion, would be I don't like this particular person, so I'm willing to dig them up and urinate all over their grave. That's desecration.
Yeah, it's a contentious subject because it was in the like from the late 19th century, well, from the mid 19th century onwards, it was very popular. The barrow diggers in Europe, especially, but tumuli like that were regularly excavated by wealthy and educated people as a hobby, and they found huge amounts of really useful stuff, like all of the incredible Sutton Hoo burial find and all that's all because of those people, but they also destroyed untold amounts of priceless archaeological information that we'll just simply know. We just don't know how much was there.
I'm documenting things or whatever, so I'm here to really preserve not particularly the site, but anything that we dig up. So it's definitely not desecration. I'm doing it in a respectful manner, I should say.
It's desecration to the Indians who buried their families here.
Yeah, I think maybe I used the wrong word in that. Maybe not desecration, but the idea of just disturbing somebody's burial place.
Sacrilege.
Sacrilege.
Or he's also thinking about how he's already done that once today.
Okay.
Danny,
right, so you guys dig in, literally. And after only about maybe 10 or 15 minutes of digging, eventually you hit something. And the first thing you come across is looks like some pottery.
Okay. So I'll document it down and we'll put it aside, and this is why we're here.
Yeah.
So,
Charlie,
I would imagine we would have like boxes or like small little crates that we can put our finds in.
Yeah, just to be clear, Charlie, your major or your focus in school was more on geology, or was it actually like
it was more on geology, but I do have archaeology.
Okay.
I think an anthropologist could conceivably recognize if the pots looked like anything associated with local tribes, or maybe other tribes that have mounds. So like, how familiar does these? I mean, assuming they're big enough to even identify.
Mm-hmm.
So, can I roll on it?
Yeah, let's do this. So, go ahead and roll. And then as you roll, I'm going to just explain a little bit more. So as you start to continue...
I got a hard success.
Okay. You're starting to dig further. You're starting to find all sorts of bits and bobs. You're finding... Oop. Bless you.
Oh, sorry. Terribly sorry. I missed the mute button.
That's all right. It's dusty here, and dirt's flying in the air.
Oh, dear. God, do you have to throw that dust behind you when you're digging in that thing?
That startled the hell out of her.
Well, why don't you find yourself a tool and help then, Jasper?
Speaking of which, Jerry, did you... There's quite a loud noise there. We'll say that with the digging, you continue to find bits and pieces, and it seems like, you know, there's probably a lot of stuff here, in addition to the fact that you're starting to see some bones here and there too. There's a skull.
Okay.
Now, does this look like what you'd expect from a burial site from the culture that's known about to be making mounds, or does it seem like what you'd expect from a grave from this region, or is it weird? Or can we not tell yet?
You said you rolled a hard on your...
I rolled a hard success on anthropology.
Charlie, do you want to roll for... I'm not sure what. Archaeology or... It's not really geology I'm asking about.
Oh.
I missed on that.
Okay.
In sort of hovering around in the background, Jasper has a bit of knowledge of archaeology. Could I make a roll?
Sure. See if you beat Jerry's hard.
Nope. I got 16 out of 40, so that's also hard.
Okay. Tie. So I'm just going to say this. You guys sort of have this similar thought. There are a couple things. The first thing is that this seems like a legitimate archaeological discovery. And that you guys might not be qualified to be doing this. That's the first thought you have. The second thought, with the hard roll, is that you can tell that some of these bones that you're seeing, it seems like they're all ages. So in other words, you might see the bone of what would be like an elderly skull, and then you find what looks like a child's hand. And then
is it standard? Is it standard to the area to have these kind of collective mass mound graves, or is it locally strange? I suppose I could just try to look that up myself, but I thought you might have
another
some.
question. These skulls and the bones. I'll look, see if there's any sort of damage to them, like if they were slaughtered or something like that. So I'm looking for maybe cracks or something that might look like a knife or a dagger or arrow. Marks on the skulls or bones or something like that.
Yes. Apologies for the page flipping.
Tug, while these guys are working away there, do you want to get the old boy to drop us back into town?
I don't know. I'm tired. I'm sitting on the grass about 40 feet away from what everybody's doing, looking at them, looking at the mound, looking at the cliff, looking at the mountain. right up ahead. Just thinking about everything that happened today.
Jerry recalls some disputes concerning the possibility that some mounds might have actually been much later and more in historical times, based on finding a certain type of charcoal remains. Does it look like anything's been burnt in here, or is it purely a burial site?
Yeah, so Charlie, to your question, nothing seems unusual. There, I mean, maybe, like, in other words, like they're skeletal remains, so clearly, like, person died. So at some point, like, you may have found what looks like a wound from a spear, but nothing really unusual. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
what I was looking for was consistency with the multiple. So what I wanted to know is if the people were buried after like a large battle or something like that.
Right. And I think, does that answer your question too, Jerry? Like, nothing, it's not really charcoal.
I don't know if it does. Is it clear that there's nothing? That this is nothing but a burial site?
Right.
There's only bones. There's pots. What about any weapons or tools?
Yes,
Or is it
with
just
the
bones and
continued
pots?
digging, that's what you're coming across pretty much everything you would expect to find.
Okay, can I date the weapons and tools?
I'm going to ask
I mean,
for
I
a
should know
roll for
basic
that.
things about points. Okay, yeah, separate roll for that. All right. Okay. Let's see here.
Jasper, I saw you trying.
The best roll you can have, 0-1, right?
Ooh, wow.
Unless 0-0 is the best in this game. That's
No.
the worst, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. 0-1, best roll. So
You dated to May 2nd of... yeah, so I don't have the date with me, so I'll just say that you note the date, and it falls in line with the knowledge that you have for the Indians in this area.
Okay, so I am absolutely certain that there's nothing strange about the date
Correct.
of the tools.
Correct.
Okay. But obviously there's been natives here for like a long time, so do I think it's... I mean, what is it about it that's not strange? Is it about as like old as this type of mound should be, or is it like in use up until colonial times? Like, is this really old or quite recent, or?
Yes, you see, that's like beyond my
Okay.
not my own knowledge. So I'm just saying it's normal to what you would expect to find. You know, it's not like from the caveman days. It's,
Okay, then I'm going to assume it's normal to a mound.
Yes.
All right.
I wanted to just jump back to ask Jasper a quick question, because when I was describing the mound and what you were saying, I saw you kind of react a little bit. Did you want to expand on that or no?
I was just wondering. I think you've answered most of the questions I was going to ask, but I was primarily going to ask whether there was any whether there's any internal structure. Like rocks or dolmen, whether the bodies are separated into separate burial trenches, or whether they've just been buried in situ, whether they're all mixed together like a mass grave.
Yes, I'm going to say it's the latter. Everything is sort of jumbled.
The pottery that we picked up. Are there any sort of pictorial, like pictographs on there, or any sort of drawings?
Yep, and the same. I'm going to give you the same explanation in that, like, I don't have any specific details, but it's consistent with what you would expect to find here.
Okay. Anything else, like jewelry?
Yes, you would find that too, and again, it would just be what you would expect to find.
Okay. I'm actually kind of looking to see if we come across another one of those stones that Jasper found a few days ago.
Do a luck roll. but I'm going to ask you. You're going to have to make an extreme.
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a 58, so it's not
Okay. Yep.
Hey, Danny, I'm ready to go when you are.
Yeah, come on, let's go and see that old crone.
We're going to meander back to Joe at the truck.
Well, here's what I'll do. It's getting later in real time. I'm going to say that there's really not much further to discover at the mound area, so we could probably wrap this scene up, unless you guys wanted to do anything in special.
Gary just makes it probably lingers, probably even is the last one to leave, draws something, notes where he was sitting, but also writes more, some scientific notes, just recording everything that was observed as it was observed, because he knows we're just taking it away in boxes, and so our memories might not be quite reliable, and jots down that based on the region, it is a very significant find, because it shouldn't be in Vermont, but otherwise it looks normal to being 6th century from the culture that was known in West New York. And if anybody's talking about it or cares, he might share that. But if nobody seems to care, he's probably just makes some notes and then kind of tries to relax in the truck on the way back.
Sure.
How late is it? Is it getting dark, did you say? Or
I'm just going to say that took several hours. It probably took longer in real life, but we'll just say for game's sake, a couple hours.
Yeah.
So,
well, Tug, do you still want to talk to Mrs. Bellwether?
That was your thing. I thought we pumped that woman for everything that we could get out of her.
She did offer you coffee / lemonade.
Well, we had lemonade.
I don't like the sound of / lemonade. That sounds suspect.
I'll go along with the group wherever you guys want to go.
Danny, you think she's worth having another chat with? We maybe have a few more specific things to ask about now than we did before.
Yeah, there's got to be somebody that knows about this craziness up here.
Oh, spirit of the keeper, is there any reason to go back to Miss Bellwether and waste a bunch of time, or not?
Can we make a power roll for that
or
one?
Can we simply say, we went and visited her and there was nothing there?
Well, I was more concerned about whether or not there'd be side effects. Even if she has no other information, Jerry can't know that. There might be side effects of being a little more open about having seen weird things out there. I mean, Jerry's not gonna pull a Charlie and just like tell the whole crazy story, but he's determined that if she's the one person who other people say is a witch, and she says she thinks there's demons out there, he's sure gonna try to get some indication if she knows more than what she said. So yeah, if we want to save time by the fact that there's no way we're gonna learn anything,
I think we can do that. I think we can say that you went there, you visited.
Hopefully not going to say anything really stupid, but this is the one time Jerry might take a risk and hint at having run into weird stuff. But if it's unlikely to have any good or bad outcome, then maybe we don't need to do it at all.
Yep, that's fine.
I've seen some weird stuff in my time.
What do we do?
I saw a man once who was only 3 inches high.
Was that in the mirror, Jasper? Was that in the mirror, Jasper?
No, he was just quite a long way away.
So is Mrs. Bellwether actually in, or is she out that night?
Yeah, we went and visited her, and there was no point.
Right, okay.
Crazy old woman.
Yeah.
Where else shall we go around town?
Oh, I'm looking at the map.
Was there anywhere we missed before?
I was wondering something, and that's that. Maybe there might be records of archaeological digs at other ones of these mounds in the area. Maybe they would give us an idea of what is in that one.
It's astonishing that any mound was found here, but, well, it would be even more astonishing if there were records of it and they never made it out of this town.
I don't know. I'm looking. There's not anything on the map that we haven't really already looked at. But I wonder if we could go find out how Emily's doing.
Oh, that would be a good idea. Yeah, I wouldn't want to leave town without knowing
That she got back to her family.
Yeah.
We've been to the town hall. We've been to the Baptist church. We've been to we haven't been to the sheriff's station, but we don't want to go to the
Cobb's Corner Gazette, that's done.
Town library. The War Memorial, we walked to the park. Cobb's Corner School. Well, we haven't been to the school, but...
We haven't been to the school. Have we been to the grill?
Yeah, we eat
there a lot.
Oh, yeah, okay, right.
And we went to Carner's Goods.
Carner's Goods, yeah, we went there quite...
So the only place on here is we haven't gone to the school, but I don't know why we would go to the school.
If somebody says something about that, maybe...
Ghost children? Is there ghost children?
We could go to the waterfront and walk around the waterfront. Let's just go to the school. We got 15 minutes.
You get to the school and you see a charming young woman, striking lady with auburn, shoulder-length hair, brown eyes. She's dressed in a very flowery, frilly dress, extending down to her ankles. And looks like she's tidying up outside the school with a broom.
She's an incredible woman. She's an attractive woman. The moment I see her, I will become incredibly shy and stand behind all the others.
Jerry walks up and says, "Good evening."
Hello. What brings you all here today?
Oh, we're from the university. We've been doing some research on town history and some of the geology around the town. We're heading back in the morning. We just thought we'd see the rest of the town.
We're folklorists.
We met an old drunk down the road called Jeff. He said go down and check out the school.
The old drunk guy. He used to hang around with Jimmy, I think.
Is this a high school?
No, this is like your typical one-room schoolhouse.
Ah.
The old-fashioned, you're out in the middle of nowhere kind of thing. And
I assume we all introduce ourselves. What's your name?
Her name is Holly Rydell. She invites you in.
Are you the schoolmistress?
Yep. She invites you in out of the sun.
Well, then I hope you can educate us as well. Are there any interesting folk tales from these parts that we might not have heard about already? Well, I mean, we've heard tale of demons in the hills, vampires, bat boys.
I don't know if you heard, but we're the ones who found Emily.
Oh. She's surprised by that, and she asks, we'll say you did stop at the doctor. She's doing okay. She's not, she's not in great health, but she's not not any worse.
Right. She's probably psychologically hurt too. So.
Yeah, and she's very, she's the school teacher. She knows all the kids in the town, and she never actually got to teach Emily because of her abilities or lack of. But there's obviously, you can see that she's certainly concerned, and she's glad to hear that she's okay.
Well, yes, it is fortunate. Of course, I'm not sure this exactly counts as folklore, more like local lore, but maybe you'd know more about this than anyone. Some people say that there's an undue number of accidents suffered by the young in these parts. I mean, they think old Mrs. Bellwether almost implied there was some kind of curse, but, well, I figure you, being a school teacher, would maybe have a more reasonable explanation. So whatever she says, I'm also, of course, already starting the psychology role to,
Yeah.
her expression.
Go ahead. Psychology.
Okay, then. Not that I'm not interested in what she says. I just figured I'd mention it now rather than interrupting her, or you, as her later. Well, that is a total failure. So
You think she's gorgeous, and that's what you can't stop thinking about.
that's probably in character if she's gorgeous.
Yep.
We know her dress is gorgeous. She's striking. Okay. Well, then, yeah, it's probably distracting.
So,
Are the rest of the guys distracted by her looks?
Yeah, Charlie, why don't you give me a roll? See if you're distracted.
That is a 32 out of 8. No, sorry, that was a 3. That was an 8. Sorry. No, so I guess I'm caught by her beauty, so I didn't know I felt this way about females.
Okay.
But that would actually answer a lot of questions when other guys have been throwing themselves at me.
Well, I will say this. So you asked her specifically about curse and unusual deaths, and you see that she kind of like, she tensed up, and she's reluctant to talk about it. These are her kids, so to speak.
Can Danny try to charm her a little bit to get a little bit more story out of her?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm so distracted by her beauty, I guess I'd like to make a charm roll too. Although that might be less focused than Danny's charm roll. But
let's see what happens when you turn the charm on Danny.
Yeah, you're going to try to charm her into talking about something that she doesn't want to talk about.
I was a phenomenal roll of 99. I got what's happening?
All right, this is all falling apart. I told you guys not to go here. I told you not to go to school.
Danny goes and looks out the window.
So you teach all the classes in the same classroom?
Yes.
We're from Miskatonic, so we're kind of used to having everybody, people are in different classrooms depending on what grades they are.
Yes. As a matter of fact, Tug, I'm not going to ask you to roll because you're going to fail it. So you notice that there's only about like 10 chairs in the schoolroom, which is clearly not enough for the amount of children in the town. So there's
okay, so
it's probably the fact that not everyone can send their child to school.
Yeah. So I'm sort of walking around. I'm looking at stuff on the walls too, if there's pictures and stuff the kids have done and stuff. And I'm like, so a lot of kids in this town have to work on their farms, don't they?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I wish they could get here, and some of them do. Some of them try, but not everybody, is interested or has the time that they could give up their child. They got to put them to work.
Is it mostly girls that are here?
That's a good question. I'm going to say it's mixed. It's actually about 50-50.
Okay. Do I notice anything odd about any of the art projects? I assume there's art projects. I don't know. I haven't been in kindergarten for a long time.
You see that?
Yeah. It's like a cloud with rain coming out, and there's...
Is that like wasps?
Or people walking on their hands and knees.
There's giant wasps.
Or
jellyfish in the sky.
Or dismembered people.
Well,
Jerry copies down. Did only Tug see the picture?
Yeah, this was sort of like buried under some papers on her desk. So this wasn't like up on the wall, like, hey, look at this pretty picture.
Wait, so Tug, while we're talking to her, Tug has like just started rifling the papers on her desk?
No, it was stuck on the wall or on her desk.
Yeah, he noticed it under some papers. So like the corner was sticking out, that sort of thing.
Is there a name on it?
No name.
While they're chatting her up, I'm gonna take it and fold it up and stick it in my pocket.
Okay.
Somebody's getting an F tomorrow. But I turned in my art project. I don't have it.
What do you mean a student stole your homework? You expect me to believe that?
That's okay, Tom. If this was in a later period, you'd have saved that kid a compulsory visit to the counselor.
Now that I've seen that, I'm sort of now looking even more so at her desk and see if there's any other bits and pieces. Because that's a really odd picture.
I'm going to ask you for a spot hidden then. And
32. What is my spot hidden? 25.
You can push it or block points or not or ignore it.
32. And I needed what? Spot hidden. 25. So that would be 7. I'll spend 7 points of luck.
Okay. You see another paper on her desk that's sort of semi-half buried. Can you read that?
Yeah, mother loves me, I know, for the others tell me so. They have watched us for so long, where we are Our brothers are strong. Yes, mother loves me. Yes, mother loves me. Yes, mother loves me, for the others tell me so. Okay. It's probably some church thing. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes.
Does Tug start singing that out loud?
Mm-hmm. No, but I'm probably doing the tune.
Probably humming it.
Mm-hmm. And then I just move on.
Okay.
Looking at the sea monkeys.
So unless somebody can think of something clever, I'm going to move on too.
No.
Oh, jeez.
All right. Anybody else want to do anything before we leave the school? All right. Late afternoon, the idea of a party is fresh in your mind. Maybe there will be some adult beverages served there.
Hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sarsaparilla, brilliant.
And it'll be a good time to relax, let some of that stress go from today. So you guys get in the car and you get in the truck and you head back to the house.
Right.
And I think we might as well end it there, unless there's something else anybody wants to do. But
all right, if that's a good spot.
I'd just like to stress that I'm gazing wistfully out of the window so that the episode can end on a poignant note.
I'll bring up some music that sounds like Lassie Come Home or something. All right, our players included Nick Swan, Wayne Worthy, George Sieg, Ken Trench, and myself with Jeff Wilkins as Keeper of the Secrets. We're currently producing up to 4 shows a week with music and sound effects added in post-production. In order to create a richer listener experience, we provide audio-only versions of our shows free for you to download from Podbean or iTunes. If you'd like to become a patron, visit our Patreon account. Just $1 or $2 a month helps us a lot. You can find a link in the description below. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel and punch that bell icon for updates on our latest shows, and leave us some comments. We enjoy reading them and answering any questions you might have. This is Tom Rayleigh, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the universe of H.P. Lovecraft and the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Until next time, good luck, good gaming.